around here a little bit, so I want to talk to everybody about, I'm going to pick up on what the Admiral said. The Coast Guard is always asking, what can we do for them? What can you do for them? I'm going to try and tell you what we do for you. The Coast Guard Auxiliary Association. Now, I'm a member of the Auxiliary just like you. I've been 34 years next month. It's been kind of fun. By the way, before I start, I want to introduce my Director of Development, Charlie Eames, who is in your district. When Sherry calls to help write grants and whatever, she's the one, she's calling him. What is the association? First of all, has anybody here ever donated to the Coast Guard Foundation? Okay. Is the Coast Guard Foundation the same thing as the Coast Guard Auxiliary Association? No. A lot of people do confuse that. There are three organizations. There's the Foundation, which is a very, very legitimate professional fundraising organization, which is essentially the MWR, Morale, Welfare, and Recreation for the Coast Guard. We happen to have an MOU with them because we are not a professional fundraising organization. We're a bunch of volunteers, and they're helping us to try and raise funds. And we'll talk about that a little bit later. Coast Guard Mutual Assistance Program, you all know what it is. The Coast Guard Auxiliary Association, Inc. was mandated by the Commandant in 1957 to manage the financial affairs of the auxiliary. And by the way, to fund the auxiliary to the extent the Coast Guard does not fund it. It is not our money, it is your money. It is the auxiliary's money. But you get benefits. You as individuals, as does the organization. And I'm going to talk about each one of those along the way. We manage and support the Auxiliary National Board of Business Affairs. We support the financial resources, or receive the financial resources to help fund the auxiliary programs. And we serve as a vehicle or viaduct for donations and grants in a number of different ways. But basically, we provide benefits for you. Anybody recently gone to the association's website? That's what I expected. Probably it was the world's worst website. It has now been redone, and it looks a lot better and is a lot easier to use. I'm going to refer to that, and I'm going to ask you to go when you can and take a look at what's on there. We provide benefits for you as individuals. We provide benefits for the auxiliary itself. We raise money, we manage money, and try and raise things for the various functions and programs of the auxiliary. I'm going to try and keep my remarks a little bit shorter today. I know Captain Boros needs some time to talk, and it's been shortened a little bit. One of the things that we will see on the auxiliaries, on the association's website, is something called Shop Auxiliary. Take a look at it. How many people here go on vacations where they either go on a cruise or stay in hotels, rent cars? Anybody? Hello. There are about 4 major hotel chains that provide discounts for you as members of the auxiliary. 2 major car rental companies that provide discounts for you as an auxiliarist. There are a couple of cruise lines that provide discounts for you as an auxiliary member. Can save you some money. Now I know Rob has been using one of the companies. Does everybody know about Office Max Office Depot? Up to 80% discount on their products and services. I know that one of the guys that I work with had a printing job that was going to be about $200 and some odd. He went to Office Max Office Depot and it was $40. I don't know whether that store gave them an extra special discount or not. Take a look at all of those companies that are listed there. They are supporting you by giving you discounts, and there are some other benefits that I'll touch on in a moment. But there's everything in the world on there, and we're trying to get more. As a sidebar, and I know this is somewhat of a sore subject in this district, you all know about a boat that was supposedly offered as a donation from Grady White. It wasn't from Grady White itself, it was from the husband of the president of the company. And everybody got excited. I was driving Mark Simone, who was the National Commodore, crazy about this thing. And they changed their mind at the end. I'm going to Grady White on Monday morning. I'm going to try and work a relationship between Grady White and the auxiliary. Whether it will happen or not, who knows? I think our friends at the Power Squadron probably tried the same thing. But look at Shop Auxiliary. It's an important aspect for you. A couple of things, a couple of examples. PenFed. Do any of you have PenFed credit cards? All right, PenFed offers to all auxiliarists a bunch of credit cards, many of them with cash rebates. They also offer you home mortgages at a better rate, car loans at a better rate, CDs at a better rate. Go explore it. You may have to open an account with them, whatever. They all support the auxiliary. Another one is, well, I've already talked about Office Max, Office Depot. All of these companies that you see not only give you breaks as members of the auxiliary, they support the auxiliary. I'm not supposed to say it, they pay us a royalty. It all goes to support the national effort. That's important for you to know. One of the things that Rob wanted me to do, and the big reason that I am here, is that at NACON last year, I did a presentation on the funding of local units, what you can do and what you can't do. If you look at the auxiliary manual, there's a specific chapter, I think it's chapter 5, section H, of how you can raise money. You're allowed to raise money, you can't be in uniform, but I would stress to you, please read the auxiliary manual. Then check with your legal officer. I don't know if your chief legal officer is here at the moment or not.
They're not currently in training.
Okay. He can be a very big friend to you. So please consult with him or her on what you can and cannot do. One of the things that I didn't know about until I got involved in this about 3 years ago, there are companies out there who provide matching programs that are very, very interesting. You work or donate hours to the auxiliary. Now you have to remember that the auxiliary is not a 501c3 not-for-profit organization. The auxiliary is part of the government. That helps us in certain ways, and it provides a little bit of a problem in other ways. We are the 501c3. If you're an employee of United Parcel Service, ExxonMobil, Dell, Apple, Motorola Solutions, they all have programs that if you work for the auxiliary, they will match those hours with dollars, and that can come right back to your flotilla. That's big money. Charlie's the guy who verifies the hours. There are units out there that are getting anywhere from $500 to $1,000 to $2,000 a year from these companies. So all of your members who are still working, ask them to go to their employers, especially if it's a bigger company, and say, do you have a matching program? That's good money for you. We go to the area called grants, and there's a number of things about grants that mystify a lot of people, and me included. We work on the national side trying to get national grants for the auxiliary. Captain Boros happens to supervise something called BSX2, which is the recreational boating safety side. A bunch of civilians who are doing a lot of things, and they administer, and I want to eliminate some myths here, they administer something called the Sportfish and Boat Restoration Trust Fund. Now, I had somebody ask me a little while ago, I think David it was you, something about the fire extinguishers. I had sent a note to the National Commodore saying that the Sportfish applications are coming up. Do we have any programs? And he sent out a note. Anybody interested in getting a grant, submit it and get it to me. Part of the things about the Sportfish and Boat Restoration Trust Fund is that these are for national programs. And they have to be administered through a 501c3. And they have to be for recreational boating safety to reduce the number of fatalities and deaths, fatalities and accidents on the water. You cannot identify your organization. You cannot use it for recruiting. It must be neutral. Now we have one of those grants, which we got about a year and a half ago, which is the first time that the association and the auxiliary had won any money in over 10 years. Why? Because nobody had met any of the objectives of any of the grants. You know that old saying, if all else fails, read the manual? That's part of the deal. When you apply for a grant, and I don't care what organization it is, everybody has a little book and there's a little bit of information in that instruction manual. Read the application for grants. I was just kidding with Captain Boros and letting him know ahead of time. What the Admiral said was, he said the story about the duck hunters. Well, there is an application that is being drafted right now, being submitted by part of the Recreational Boating Directorate to create apps for campers, hunters, fishermen. That's going to go to the captain's office through a fellow by the name of Jeff Holt, who administers all of that. Those are national grants, and we can help. If you have a program that you think is of national importance and can be implemented nationally, send it up through the chain. Now, how does that affect you directly in terms of how you operate your local unit? There are grants locally. That same Sportfish and Boat Restoration Trust Fund, hello. I hope I haven't gone over the bar. That same trust fund sends money to virtually every state. I don't know if it's all 50 states or not. But they then disseminate funds for recreational boating safety. In my division, back in Dayton, Ohio, I have one unit that has won anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 a year, every year for the past 4 years, just for doing their ABS classes. They buy keychains, they buy stuff to give away, whatever. Go to your state boating administrators. Find out what grants they have and follow their directions. Now, many of these states require you to go to an application meeting. In other words, they want to teach you how to apply for a grant within their state. Now this brings me to another thing. Sherry, are you here in the room? No? Okay. You have someone in the district who is somewhat familiar with grant writing. I submit to you that every flotilla, every division, and the district should find somebody who is interested in writing grants and helping you. That person should have command of the English language, some business sense, preferably some sales experience, because what is a grant application? It's nothing more than a sales pitch. I have had complaints, oh, the Coast Guard is giving out money to the Power Squadron. I'm not picking on you. I want to make a point.
It has to be recommended.
Okay. A lot of the examples were the simulators that you have. Why can't we get those simulators? Well, we could, if the national leadership had wanted to use those simulators. They got their grant in the same place, but they filled out the form the way it was supposed to be filled out. Kudos to them. Find somebody who is devoted to doing that. It's not a hard job. And if you need help with it, Charlie or I are available. Charlie more than me. He's the pro in this. Locally, there are a number of banks, financial institutions, who are more than happy to do civic duty by providing grants to civic organizations. Chase does it, Bank of America does it. Go to your local bank. And speaking of local organizations, Walmart. Walmart has local grants, regional grants, and national grants. Locally, a store can put out a grant or pay a grant for up to $2,500. Store manager has that authority. Go visit your local Walmart store. Go visit their website. They are valuable assets out there to do that. I want to go back to one thing about what we do, and that is in the administration of the Coast Guard funds, or the Coast Guard auxiliary funds. There is something called the Auxiliary Center. Please support the Auxiliary Center in terms of when you go to buy your uniform accessories, all of that stuff. That helps to support the auxiliary programs. Where do you think most of the money comes to run the auxiliary? Anybody want to hazard a guess? Outside of dues, what's the biggest revenue producer for the auxiliary? Thank you. It is public education. The Coast Guard does not fund public education. It's self-supporting. The more books you buy, the more money we have to support the programs. The VE program, while it is a Coast Guard program, it is totally self-supporting. We just finished renewing the deal with Boat U.S., who pays for the decals for both us and the Power Squadron. It's all administered through us. That's all self-supporting. The Coast Guard is going to fund less and less. It's not a negative to them. They're under the pressures that you heard the Admiral and the 3 sector commanders talk about. And they're going to continue to be pressured. We're going to have to find ways to do other things. We're going to find a way to get this application in for the apps. Anybody here, I know Rob obviously went, anybody here went to N-Train? There was a training schedule at N-Train that was brand new this year called Incident Management. It's a new director. We got $15,000 from a company called Motorola Solutions to help offset the funding on that. We did an advertising program at airports. You know, some of the billboards were here in D.C. at both Reagan and Dulles. They were in New York. They were all over the country. They were in a lot of bus shelters in Boston and Chicago. The Coast Guard Auxiliary does not have an advertising campaign, and that's a problem in my mind as a marketer. The Coast Guard itself does not do a lot of advertising. So therefore, we suffer a little bit from that. So we have to find ways to promote ourselves. And that was the first time that we've been able to do it. I want to touch on one last subject, and that is the boat donations. This is something that I got involved in and started with when I first took over this. Our agreement with the Coast Guard Foundation, they get offered boats a lot, and they're all over the place. There are sailboats, there are power boats, of all different sizes, shapes, whatever. There are a lot of different reasons that people donate boats. Some of them are junk. Some of them are worth a lot of money. I will tell you, in the past couple of years, we've taken in 3 boats that were of substantial value. There's a $191,000 34-foot twin jet boat that is now sitting in Alex's domain up in Mamaroneck, New York. There's a 30-foot Grady White, valued at $85,000, that is sitting up in Portsmouth, New Hampshire. And there was a rather large vessel down in Puerto Rico that was donated by the father of, unfortunately, a murdered auxiliarist. We're trying to get more boats. Now, when I notify the National Commodore and say there's a boat available, and they send out a notice, goes through the Commodores, whatever, and I sit there and wait, and wait, and wait. You need to go back to your flotillas and say, do we or do we not want a boat? If we do, we have to understand that there's a financial obligation. You've got to store the boat, you've got to maintain the boat. In some cases, if the boat is of a certain value, like over $50,000, you have to insure it. We encourage insuring it below that. Now, I'm not talking about liability, I'm talking about hull insurance. There are 2 companies that will now insure these vessels of the United States. Understand that when you get an operational facility that is donated, it is finally approved by the Director's Office and the National Commodore. You don't register it in the local state, you do not document it. It has no other markings on it other than Coast Guard Auxiliary. It's only to be used under orders. But if a tree falls on it, or if there's a fire, or somebody steals it, you want to make sure that that boat is insured. But what you need to do is to get all that information, and it's all in the auxiliary manual, and then check with your legal officer, get it cleared through the district commodore and the local DIROCs. Is this boat needed in the operation of what this district is doing? But if you're willing to accept the boat within certain ranges and make up your minds whether you want a 20-foot boat, 30-foot boat, 40-foot boat, whatever, and make sure your district commodore knows about that so that when we get an offering, we can get back to the potential donor, not in 4 months or 3 months or 2 months, which is, by that time, the donors have gone away. We've got to get right back to them. You don't have to accept it if it doesn't meet your specifications. Nobody's going to take something that they haven't seen, they haven't inspected, whatever. You're going to have to go take a look at the boat. Is that boat worthwhile for you? Is it in the condition that has been represented? Whatever. That's important for you to know. We're looking to take in boats, we're looking to take in airplanes, we're looking to take in RVs. PA facilities, communications facilities, can be used for a lot of different things. If you need it, if you're willing to undertake the financial obligations. Now, I've skipped over a bunch of things. I want you to have a chance to speak, and I will be here all weekend. I bear greetings, by the way, from a fellow that many of you may know, Gene Seibert, who's a former district commodore. He's my boss in the association. Even though he has moved to Nevada, he is staying in this district. He's not transferring. I'm glad to have this opportunity because I started out actually in District 1 South at the Governor's Island Flotilla 34 years ago. And in jumping from there to Ohio and doing what I now do within the auxiliary, I've heard a lot of different comments about what the association is and what it isn't. I've heard everything from rumors about, oh, well, they charge a fee or do they take a cut of whatever the money is. No, we don't. It's not our money. It's your money.
Hey, Dave,
Yes, sir.
if you would, explain that process, if you would. And we do have time because we were originally scheduled 7:30. We'd be headed back. I told, Sam is simply going to be, as always, and we saved the best for last. So, but please dispel the rumor about, we have a donation running it through the Coast Guard Auxiliary Association is the clean way, but there's rumors out there, there's confusion saying it takes forever. Like I say, yeah, they take a cut, so on and so forth.
Most donors will give to a 501c3. Now, the auxiliary is not a 501c3. We are. So what happens is the donation goes to the association in the name of your unit. Charlie will sign it, or Marty Phillips, who is the executive director, will sign it. And it goes in, they cut a check, send it to us. We deposit the check. The check is then, another check is drawn, payable to you in the same amount, and that's very clean. There are some things that can be donated directly to the auxiliary, and there are special things. There's something in the manual that allows, and I'm going through something in Texas right now, when somebody's trying to get a trailer, and it's from used state equipment. Now, we can't, for whatever reasons, we can't get involved in something that is coming from the state government to a local unit. It has to stay in the state. We do not have a presence in the state. But most things, like boats, like donations, it goes cleanly through the association. That's why we're there. That's why we exist. The Commandant wanted this vehicle to keep so-called separation of church and state. We can do some certain things as an association that the auxiliary itself cannot do. So with that, are there any questions? Somebody with an outrageous question.
David,
Yes,
is the association membership dead?
I'm sorry?
Is the associate membership even more dead than it has been in the
Thank you for that. It's one of the things I skipped over. Let me ask a question. I'm going to answer a question with a question. Has anybody ever been offered money for doing a VE or a PE class? People who are very grateful, can I hand you some money? Has that ever happened?
Yes.
Okay, you can't take it, obviously. What you can do is we have, as the association, an associate membership. If somebody wants to repay you for doing a great VE exam, please donate it to the Coast Guard Auxiliary Association. Put my flotilla number on that. By the way, if they give $25 as a donation, as an associate member of the association, 40% of that comes back to you. There's another builder for the unit, and it helps the national organization. Yes, sir.
There used to be a brochure regarding
Yes.
that with an envelope in there.
Yes.
Put your
Yes,
flotilla
we're
on.
redoing that right now. Thank you. Anybody else? Let me pick up on what David said to me earlier about the fire extinguisher program. There are companies out there, and I'm going to use Motorola Solutions as one of them, and this is what started it with me, because I saw a lot of money being funneled through us to local units. And I looked at who they were funding on a local basis. They do fire departments, police, local police units, first responder stuff, ambulance companies, for training. Now that's how we got the national, we got put on their list for national grants, whereby we funded the training for, or part of the money for the training for the incident management people. But if you wanted specifically that fire extinguisher program, why not apply directly as a local unit? You can. It will go through us. You can apply for it as a district.
You just talked me into it, sir.
Okay? Yes?
Amazon Smile.
Good point. How many people buy from Amazon.com? Go through Amazon Smile. They pay us 0.3% or 0.5% for every purchase you make. It doesn't affect your purchase price. It's money that comes back to the auxiliary. That's a royalty to us because of that particular program. Anybody else?
Got a follow-up?
Sure.
On that Amazon Smile, is when you order something online like that from a company like Amazon does this, do you have, is there a list?
My question is, a follow-up, is when you're buying from a company like Amazon Smile, if you want to designate it that way, do you then designate the Coast Guard Auxiliary Association, a drop-down box or whatever, something designated?
Every purchase you make on Amazon Smile, you pre-designate what charity you want it to go to. We are the charity. Yes, sir.
How about Good Shop?
I don't know anything about Good Shop.
Good Shop is a search engine. It's going.
Oh, I do know about it. We had it on the old website. I don't know if it's going back to that. I don't know how widely known that program is.
I don't think it's that widely known, but hey.
I'll take any dollar.
Every time you go shopping through there, every time you use goodshop.com and you go shopping through there, the stores that are cooperating with that, like Walmart, JCPenney, many others, will donate 2 or 3% of your purchase price to the charity of your choice, and if that happens to be the Coast Guard Auxiliary Association, it's all money for you. Plus, every time you put something in their search engine box and hit enter, it donates a penny to the Coast Guard Auxiliary Association. So 1 penny doesn't mean too much, and I don't always remember it, but so far, my total is up over $80.
It all counts. If any of you know of anybody, now, Rob, you sent me the name of one person who works for a local power company, I think.
Yeah, yes, in Division 22.
Ask your members to go back to their companies. It's very important because Those matching programs can fund you a great deal. Have I missed anything? Captain, have I screwed up anything?
Not at all. Dave, want to make a quick point on the fire extinguishers?
Yeah, I learned about the fire extinguishers through the United States Fire Squadrons. I was at a road show and was walking by a booth, and they said, "Come talk to us." I was anticipating close. Went in and talked to them, and they said, "You want to try to put that fire out?" I said, "Okay," and they handed me a fire extinguisher. I looked at the pen, they said, "Don't pull the pen, just put the fire out." So I dropped down to one knee, aimed to the base of the fire, about 8 feet away, swept it back and forth, put it out. They said, "How'd you know to do that?" I said, "Coast Guard Auxiliary Coxswain." They said, "We should have known." Ever since then, I've coveted one of those fire extinguisher training applications. Those of you may remember last year, we had it here, and we had it out, and a lot of people got to use it. And there was one active duty officer that didn't put the fire out. So I think we could use that training apparatus, and I'll take any help I can get in applying for a grant to get one of those, if we can make a traveling apparatus to our places and teach how to put fires out. Thank you.
What I would also suggest for you as Commodores is to take that up the chain to Mark and say, is this a national program?
I'm not a Commodore yet, so.
I understand. I gave you that opening line though. I'm serious, for the next count. I mean, that's how this stuff is going to get done. We're looking to expand our base of donors. I'm working with one of the members of the board, who is also an auxiliarist. We're going to come out with a fundraising campaign. We're going to people who are of means and trying to find money for national programs. I said I wasn't going to ask for anything, and I'm really not. But for those people, no, I'm not going to pass it back. For those people who are planning, this is not the most happy subject, but for those people who are planning their estate, don't forget about something called planned giving. You've all donated a lot of time, a lot of effort to an organization for which you feel a particular love. If you have that kind of money and you are making allocations in your estate for donations to charity, you can name the Coast Guard Auxiliary Community Association. If you have questions about it, call me. I'll be around here all weekend. I'm always available, and I appreciate your time. Thank you, Bob.